Have you ever stopped to reflect on the role of African people in the heart of the Grand Roman Empire? The history we know often omits important details about those who lived in an era where destiny and freedom were fragile and unstable concepts. Between the possibility of being respected citizens or subjugated slaves, Africans in the Roman Empire carried legacies of struggle, achievements, and remarkable resilience. In this video, we'll reveal 10 impactful truths about this journey, demystifying the past and bringing to light the reality of a people who, even in the face of adversity, left deep marks on Roman culture and society. These truths will not only change your view of ancient Rome, but also make you reflect on the echoes this history brings to the present world. Get ready to dive into the real history, the fight for dignity, and the rights of a people whose strength and courage resonate to this day. This is a story that time tried to erase, but we are here to rescue and celebrate. Imagine Rome as the center of a vast ancient world, where all roads crossed and all peoples seemed to meet. Amid so many cultures, the Mediterranean Sea was more than just a body of water. It was the artery that connected the empire, a living route of stories, goods, and faces from different places. This sea, which we see today as a boundary between continents, was at the time a bustling road, essential not only for trade but also for the exchange of ideas and customs. The Romans, who ruled lands with diverse climates and cultures, found powerful strength in this diversity. It was common for people walking through the grand city of Rome to encounter men and women from distant lands, including Africa. Africans brought with them not only exotic and rare products, but also customs, knowledge, and a worldview that often fascinated and inspired the Romans. In the markets, the smell of spices and the vibrant tones of African fabrics blended with local products, creating a true mosaic of cultures. Merchants, artisans, and even black soldiers walked through the plazas, bringing stories from distant lands and skills that enriched Roman life. Many Romans were curious about these visitors or new citizens, respected their traditions, and at the same time absorbed what these cultures had to offer. Have you ever tried to understand the wars that made Rome the greatest empire in the world, only to get lost in so many confusing details? If so, you're not alone. Imagine finally mastering the most important details that shaped Rome, getting to know the strategies of great generals like Julius Caesar and Scipio Africanus, and understanding how these maneuvers changed the course of history. Knowing the difficulty of finding this information, I've made my digital book, The 10 Battles That Shaped the Roman Empire, available. You'll have access to all this in a clear and direct way. Learn how Rome won impossible battles, discover curiosities you won't find elsewhere, and become an expert in Roman military history. Access the pinned comment and get your copy now, as our units are running out. The presence of Africans in Rome was very diverse. Some came to trade, others arrived as soldiers or even diplomats, people of great importance who came on missions to strengthen ties with the empire. And for these Africans, Rome was a land of opportunities and challenges. They brought unique knowledge, from agricultural techniques to medical skills, and their expertise profoundly influenced the Romans. The Mediterranean was not a barrier, it was a bridge that allowed different peoples to share their cultures and ways of life. In Rome, seeing a different face, hearing an exotic accent, or trying a new flavor was almost commonplace. This daily exchange, this mix of peoples, made Rome grow even stronger, highlighting the empire as a place where diversity was truly part of everyday life. This intense coexistence and blend of cultures enriched Rome and made the city a unique place where past and future met on every corner, ready to continue building this multicultural history. Before continuing, make sure to remember the name and image of this channel so you can always return to this reliable source on Roman history. Now check if you've subscribed, because here you'll find rigorously researched and presented facts about one of the most influential civilizations in history. The Romans referred to black people from the African continent as Ethiopians, especially those from regions near the Kingdom of Aksum, a wealthy and influential civilization that thrived where modern-day Ethiopia is located. For the Romans, Ethiopians were not only merchants, but ambassadors of a vibrant and rich culture. These African traders brought products that fascinated the Roman elite and transformed the daily life of the markets into a spectacle of colors, aromas, and exotic objects. Ivory, for example, was one of the most coveted items that came from Africa. Huge and majestic, ivory was transported in large elephant tusks, carefully packed and protected. When these tusks arrived in Rome, they were transformed into luxury items like jewelry, decorative figures, intricate carvings, and even accessories for furniture and temples. Ivory was synonymous with power, and its presence in Roman homes indicated prestige and wealth. It was common for hosts to proudly display their ivory pieces to guests, highlighting their exclusivity and, of course, the high price paid for them. Besides ivory, the Kingdom of Axum was an important source of precious stones that reached the Roman markets, shimmering in various colors and textures. These stones were cut in Rome to be transformed into rings, necklaces, and amulets used in ceremonies or even as symbols of protection. For the Romans, the fact that these stones came from such distant lands added to their mystique. They believed the stones held special properties and powers directly from African gods. Often, only those belonging to the elite could afford to own these stones, and their value was enhanced by the impressive stories that accompanied the African merchants' journeys. These merchants also brought rare perfumes and spices, adding an exotic touch to Roman beauty and hygiene rituals. Aromatic resins and special oils used in the making of perfumes created intense fragrances that could be smelled from afar. These perfumes were so highly valued that they became ideal gifts for the nobility, and their exotic scent symbolized luxury and distinction. Herbs and spices, in turn, were used in both cuisine and religious ceremonies, where it was believed their aromas purified the environment and pleased the gods. The trade route between Rome and Axum was not only a channel for material goods, but also for cultural exchanges and legends. African merchants shared fascinating stories about their lands, dense and mysterious forests where wild and exotic animals lived in harmony, endless deserts, and towering mountains that seemed to touch the sky. The Romans, who rarely saw these landscapes firsthand, were captivated by these descriptions, and for many, Axum was an almost mythical land where mystery and wealth went hand in hand. Thus, trade between Rome and Axum reflected more than just the exchange of goods. It built a link between two distant worlds. The fact that African products held a prestigious place in Roman markets and were desired by the wealthiest citizens shows the cultural impact of these interactions. African presence blended into Roman life, and the diversity of peoples and traditions enriched the empire, making it even more cosmopolitan and dynamic. Tell me in the comments if you knew that black people lived in the ancient Roman Empire, and if you know any interesting facts about them. Imagine walking through the cold and damp lands of Roman Britain, where beneath the mist-covered soil, secrets from ancient times lay hidden, waiting to be discovered. When archaeologists began to explore the soil of these ancient cities, they found skeletons that told unexpected stories. There, among the remains of soldiers and British citizens, were the traces of Africans who lived, worked, and even thrived in Roman lands far from home. One of the most fascinating finds was the skeleton of a woman carefully buried and adorned with fine jewelry. The study of her bones revealed that she not only had African features, but also originated from warmer climates, possibly in North Africa. She likely spent her youth under the scorching sun of the Sahara before crossing the Mediterranean and making her life in the grey lands of Britain. The position and respect with which she was buried showed that, far from being a slave, she belonged to an upper class, respected and integrated into the local Roman society. In another remarkable discovery, archaeologists unearthed the skeleton of a soldier with African ancestry, buried in a stone coffin with military honors and surrounded by the insignias of his rank. He too appeared to have lived part of his life in North Africa before being transferred to serve in one of the Roman legions guarding the borders of Britain. This soldier, who had crossed the Mediterranean to protect Rome's interests, was a living symbol of how the empire valued loyalty and skill above any origin or ethnicity. These skeletons didn't just show faces from the past, they challenged simplistic views of Roman society. They revealed a Rome where people of different origins found space to grow, serve, and even prosper. Each grave and artifact seemed to whisper that Rome was an empire where talent and merit could open doors, and diversity was part of its strength. If you're enjoying this content and believe these stories about Rome are helping you better understand the empire that shaped the world, don't forget to leave a like. This not only helps spread the true history of Rome to more people, but also ensures that YouTube shows you more videos like this. So give it a like and strengthen this journey of historical discoveries. Hadrian's Wall was an immense line of fortification, stretching about 117 kilometers, crossing the rugged and wild terrain of Britain and marking the northern limit of the Roman Empire. Built under the orders of Emperor Hadrian in the year 122 AD, this wall had a clear purpose: to protect Roman lands from the native tribes of the north, known for their resistance and indomitable spirit. However, beyond being a physical barrier, Hadrian's Wall was also a showcase of Rome's diversity, housing soldiers from various parts of the empire, including North Africa. Inscriptions and military records found along the wall confirm the presence of African troops, especially soldiers who came from the provinces of Mauritania and Nubia, regions in North Africa, where Morocco, Algeria, and Sudan are located today. These soldiers were noted for their exceptional skills and loyalty to the empire, serving as part of the auxiliary cohorts, which consisted of elite non-Roman troops. These auxiliary troops were of great value to Rome as they helped expand and protect the empire, in exchange for significant rewards such as Roman citizenship. For many of these soldiers, gaining citizenship meant opening doors to a life of respect, legal rights, and opportunities for their families. I noticed that you forgot to subscribe to the channel. We'll always be bringing content about Rome. You won't want to miss exclusive content on this incredible civilization that was Rome. The presence of these African soldiers in such a distant and cold land did not go unnoticed. Their clothing, skin tone, and distinct cultural traits attracted attention from both the local Britons and their colleagues from other Roman provinces. Alongside the Roman legions, these Africans served in the defense of the wall, organized patrols, and took part in the construction and maintenance of structures along the frontier. Even when facing Britain's harsh climate, they performed their duties with determination and discipline. Life in these military camps along Hadrian's Wall was tough and routine. The soldiers, including the Africans, faced intense cold, constant rain, and biting winds that seeped into their tents and guard posts. On freezing nights, they would gather around campfires where the warmth of the flames mingled with the accents and stories of each soldier. The Africans shared legends of the vast sandy dunes of their homelands, spoke of scorching deserts and dense forests, describing exotic animals like lions and elephants, which many Roman soldiers only knew from tales and accounts. For the local Britons, these stories were like glimpses into a distant and fascinating world, and the African soldiers became, in a way, almost mythical figures. These cultural exchanges weren't limited to stories around the fire. The African soldiers also brought specific knowledge, combat techniques, and survival skills that were useful in their patrols along the wall. Their combat styles and survival strategies became a valuable addition to the Roman military repertoire. They were respected not only for their endurance, but also for their adaptability, traits that made them essential to Rome. The presence of African soldiers along Hadrian's Wall serves as a reminder of how the Roman Empire was truly a mosaic of cultures, where the boundaries of origin and identity dissolved in pursuit of a common goal. Rome not only conquered territories, it integrated peoples, allowing men from different backgrounds to unite under a single banner. And don't forget to grab your digital book, The 10 Battles That Shaped the Roman Empire. It's very important that you get it now before the units run out. Imagine an emperor crossing the Roman Empire heading north, not just to give orders, but to lead his army in one of the most remote and challenging regions of Roman rule. This was Septimius Severus, an emperor unlike any who came before him. Originally from Leptis Magna, a coastal city in North Africa, Severus carried with him a unique story. He was a leader born under the scorching sun of the African desert, now guiding his army to the cold lands of Britain. When Severus arrived in Britain in 208 AD, his presence made an immediate impact. Hadrian's Wall, a long line of stone crossing the northern part of the island, was a barrier that protected the empire from the constant attacks of northern tribes. But the wall needed attention and repairs, and Severus, known for his determination and strategic vision, saw in this fortification an opportunity to showcase Rome's strength in distant lands. He ordered the wall to be reinforced, towers and fortresses to be repaired and expanded, ensuring that no enemy could easily pass through. Accompanying Severus was an essential part of his forces, soldiers from various parts of the empire, including many from his homeland, North Africa. These African soldiers, with their dark skin and distinct features, marched alongside Roman legionaries and were a sight that drew attention, especially from the local inhabitants. For the Britons, who rarely saw foreigners, the presence of these men was intriguing and even inspiring. They were living proof that the Roman Empire was vast, encompassing people from all parts of the known world. These African soldiers faced a completely different reality from what they knew. Accustomed to the dry, intense heat, they were now exposed to Britain's constant cold and humidity. But Roman military discipline had taught them to withstand adverse conditions, and they demonstrated great adaptability. As they worked on Hadrian's Wall, raising and reinforcing its defenses, their skills and dedication were evident. They didn't just follow orders. Many of them were experienced veterans whom Severus valued and trusted. They participated in night patrols, scanned the horizon for signs of invaders, and defended the wall with vigor and discipline. Around the campfires, these African soldiers brought with them stories of deserts, exotic cities, and the wildlife of their homelands. They spoke about their cultures, the gods they worshipped, and the traditions they carried from home. These moments around the fire became a meeting point of cultures. Roman and British soldiers listened with curiosity, fascinated by these stories from lands so distant and different from their own. The presence of these African soldiers on Hadrian's Wall showed that Rome was not just a city or a region. Rome was an idea that united peoples, cultures, and histories. The Roman Empire was a vastly complex and diverse civilization, where people of various backgrounds, including Africans, could rise to positions of great influence in the military and administration. Lucius Quietus is one of the most remarkable examples of this social mobility within the empire. Quietus was born in the Roman province of Mauritania, located in North Africa, a region corresponding to present-day Morocco and Algeria. His father, a local tribal leader, had allied with Rome, and as a result, Quietus grew up in an environment where the traditions of his homeland intertwined with Roman culture and the military system. From an early age, Lucius Quietus had access to education and military training that positioned him as a prominent figure among the young men of his generation. He learned the art of war under the rigorous discipline of the Roman army, while also being familiar with the native combat tactics and skills of his land, especially in mountainous and desert terrains. This unique knowledge made him a versatile and adaptable commander, qualities that would be fundamental in his career. Quietus demonstrated exceptional skills in commanding troops, not only for his prowess in battle, but also for his ability to read the battlefield and adapt tactics according to circumstances. He understood how to leverage each natural advantage of the terrain, which made him a highly respected and feared officer. And remember, whenever you have questions about how Roman civilization was built, I have the solution for you. Just go to the pinned comment and get your digital book, The 10 Battles That Shaped the Roman Empire. There are only a few units left, so get yours today. The campaign that highlighted him the most took place in Judea, where he was sent to suppress a revolt against Roman rule. The territory of Judea was known for its difficult terrain, with steep hills and arid deserts. Quietus knew how to use his knowledge of the arid regions of North Africa to deal with these challenging conditions, demonstrating an impressive command of military strategy and inspiring leadership. He was not just a distant commander. He led from the front lines alongside his soldiers, earning the respect and loyalty of his troops. His ability to adapt and conquer in complex regions and his loyalty to the empire were rewarded with high responsibility administrative positions. He was frequently called upon by Roman generals to make strategic decisions and manage military operations, which required not only combat skills, but also a deep understanding of the Roman political system and managerial skills that few possessed. This trust in Quietus showed how Rome recognized merit and dedication regardless of origin. He was seen as a capable and loyal officer, not just as a foreigner. The career of Lucius Quietus, like that of other Romans of African origin, reflects a fascinating aspect of the Roman Empire. In Roman society, social advancement was not limited by ethnicity or skin color. Citizenship and military skill could open doors to important positions. Unlike the modern concept of racial slavery, which associates African origin with servitude, the Roman Empire offered a more complex and dynamic system. Although slavery existed, it was based on factors such as war, debt, and conquest, rather than race. In the Roman context, free Africans and other men and women from conquered provinces could obtain citizenship and rise based on merit. Tell me in the comments if you already knew about the history of black people in the Roman Empire. I'd love to know your knowledge. Imagine yourself walking through the bustling streets of Rome, an ancient metropolis where trade never stops and crowds fill the plazas, markets, and temples. Among the scents of spices, the sounds of conversations in various languages, and the relentless rhythm of footsteps, there is one particular area that catches the eye: the slave market. Here the air is filled with tension and anticipation. From all corners of the empire, men, women, and children of different backgrounds are gathered, displayed like merchandise, each awaiting the fate that will be decided for them at auction. Slavery in Rome had no racial or ethnic barriers. Unlike the modern conception of slavery, the condition of being a slave was a fate that could befall anyone, regardless of origin. For the Romans, slavery was simply a consequence of circumstances, something that happened primarily through wars, piracy, and even the trade of indebted individuals. Each new conquest brought with it a new wave of prisoners, and for Roman generals and soldiers, these captives were part of the spoils of war, a reward. After battle, prisoners were gathered, chained, and taken far from their homelands, marching for miles under the watchful eyes of soldiers who saw them as valuable assets, ready to be traded. On the battlefield, a defeated soldier might watch his comrades captured, bound, and taken directly to the selling squares, where they would undergo the process of commercialization. One day they were warriors and chiefs, the next commodities in Rome's slave market, where they were evaluated like objects. Roman buyers would look each prisoner up and down, examining their health, age, and appearance. A strong and resilient person was considered ideal for work on farms, while a child or teenager might be destined for domestic work. Women were often chosen for service in large Roman households, where they might perform domestic tasks or, in less fortunate cases, serve the whims of their masters. Piracy was also a constant source of slaves. The Mediterranean was filled with commercial and civilian ships, and pirates often attacked these vessels, capturing people who were traveling in search of new opportunities or even on business and diplomatic missions. These travelers, with no ties to any conflict or war, were taken by force and sold as slaves. Within days, someone who had been free, who had their own life, suddenly found themselves in chains, being traded for money. At the markets, buyers looked at these newly arrived captives with curiosity. Would they be skilled workers, good for some specific service, or maybe a valuable acquisition that could increase the prestige of their households? In the marketplace, traders classified captives by their natio, or place of origin, a label the Romans used to identify and categorize skills or traits associated with different peoples. To them, this was almost like a label of utility. The Gauls, known for their physical strength, were valued for heavy labor in the fields and mines. The Greeks, with their reputation for education and knowledge, were especially sought after to teach the children of the Roman elite or work in administrative roles. Africans, famous for their resilience and varied skills, were also seen as ideal for field work and even for military service in some cases. Each natio came with a set of assumptions, and Roman buyers used these ideas to make decisions about their acquisitions. The life of a Roman slave was marked by a complete lack of rights and total submission to their master's will. They were living property, items that could be sold, traded, or punished as the owner wished. Some were forced to work from sunrise to sunset on farms, tending crops and animals, while others spent their days in mines, facing dangerous conditions and exhausting routines. Those lucky enough to serve in a Roman household might avoid the heaviest physical labor, but still lived a life of obedience and submission. At any moment, a slave could be punished for a mistake or simply at their master's whim, making their condition a constant reminder of their vulnerability. In a future video, we will explore even more of the harsh reality that was the life of slaves in Rome, their routines, their humiliations, and the small acts of resistance that many found to endure life in a society that saw them as nothing more than objects in service to free citizens. And we've reached the end of our journey through the presence of Africans in the mighty Roman Empire. During this journey, we saw how black Africans were spread across all parts of the empire, occupying roles far beyond what many might imagine. They weren't just laborers, but also dedicated soldiers defending Hadrian's Wall, influential officers like Lucius Quietus, and even an emperor, Septimius Severus, who was born in Africa and ruled with authority and respect. Unlike other moments in history, there was no division of roles based on skin color or race in the Roman Empire. The empire was a place of opportunity where, with skill and loyalty, people could reach positions of prestige and power, regardless of their origin. For the Romans, what really mattered was each person's contribution to strengthening the empire. And don't forget, whenever you want to know everything about Rome and how it was built, just go to the pinned comment and get your digital book, The 10 Battles That Shaped the Roman Empire. The units are limited, so get yours today. These Africans brought new cultures, talents, and ideas, helping to build what Rome became. They left their mark on Roman society and showed that Rome was truly a diverse empire where many cultures met and grew together. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more about the Roman world, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot and ensures that you won't miss upcoming videos full of historical curiosities and adventures. See you in the next one.